We are now happy to welcome Boost, online mobile training and assessment apps provider for the hospitality industry. A very warm welcome to Manuel Salvisberg, a name we know quite well here at school, advisor council of Boost. Could you please introduce yourself in a few words and tell us what you do, in fact?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Thomas, especially for the warm welcome here at EHL. It's a pleasure to be here, and I can see the quality of the institution just by meeting one or two people here, all extremely friendly and hospitable. So it's very much appreciated also that we have the opportunity to present our company and our brand Boost here. My background, originally I'm an investor. I have been an investor in many technology companies, and Boost is one of them, one that I'm very excited about because I believe it's a company that can change lives and that can have impact, and that as an investor can scale very beautifully. Mm-hmm. So your question to what do we do? We provide technologies for the hospitality industry. We basically build apps for training. So training apps which can be used to learn languages, Mandarin, English, or can be used for vocational training, how to do a job in F&B right, housekeeping, front desk, etc. We also do assessment. So a lot of institutions that need to require large amounts of staff, they like to run our assessment first before they invite people to an interview. Okay. And ultimately, we want to also become a recruiting platform, but that's a bit more longer term.
Okay. So if you had to summarize, what is your mission? So people really understand what you aim to do in the future.
Yeah. So our mission is very much to empower people. Yes. We want to empower people in the hospitality industry, staff to be better at what they're doing, be more confident at what they're doing, and eventually provide better quality of service, which will serve the employers as well.
If I understood right, is it only for language, or is it also for other skills?
So our origin is in the language training. That's where we really came from. But now we have built a whole suite of solutions which include upselling, for instance, at the front desk, where you can offer a higher quality room to a guest, or for F&B, where we can offer a dessert after the meal or a wine. And onto assessment, as I mentioned earlier, where we can help recruiters to filter candidates a bit more efficiently, to have a more efficient recruiting process. So we're really building that out into a larger set of solutions as only language. But the origin was in language.
Okay. How is that different from the way we did training in the industry in the past? And what are the advantages in your eyes of such a solution?
Mm-hmm. So what we encounter with a lot of hotels is that there's a lot of classroom training. Mm-hmm. So typically you would pull out staff from their daily operations, okay, put them in a classroom. We're mainly present in Asia so far, so typically you would pull in a lot of people from front desk, F&B, etc., put them in a classroom, 30 people, 40 people, okay, have an instructor for 1 hour, and imagine, if there's 30 people with one instructor, so on average the speaking time would be 2 minutes if the teacher says nothing, so that's not realistic. So people have very little chance to actually interact during that lesson. Okay. They have almost no possibility to actually speak. Mm-hmm. And the ones that speak are usually the ones that are already good at it, and the ones that don't are the ones that would need it. And very often when they do, they get laughed at and they feel more insecure. Yeah. So the classroom approach has failed. Okay. It's costly, it's inefficient, it's ineffective. And what we're therefore providing is a solution that everybody can learn at their own pace. At home, at the bus stop, in the cigarette break, in the morning, evening, doesn't matter. You take your mobile device out, it's anytime, anywhere. If you need more repetitions to feel confident, you can do that at your leisure. Mm-hmm. If it's too easy, then obviously the program will take you through faster, so you're not getting bored. Mm-hmm. And for the hotels, that obviously has huge value in the sense that they can monitor very well how training is conducted, okay, how effective it is, how people improve. We measure all along. We collect a lot of data to see which are the users that may need more hand-holding, which are the ones that don't need more hand-holding. You can even compare property to properties. This property actually doesn't do the training so well, so maybe we should step it up a little bit.
Okay.
And to give you one anecdote in what that has ended up with, I sold one of the first licenses in Jakarta to a very well-known hotel, and the training manager was skeptical, which is understandable. Somebody walking in with a piece of tech and saying, that's going to be great for you, raises questions. 3 months later, I came back, and this wonderful training manager, she said, look, Manuel, what has happened here is that before, when a foreigner walked into our restaurant, everybody would stare to the floor, hoping they wouldn't have to talk to that person.
That's right.
And now, somebody walks in and they all go to that person straight away and start throwing these sentences and vocabulary and everything at that guest, which changes the atmosphere of the restaurant altogether. It's a welcoming place. It's a fun place. And I think there's tremendous value in that.
That's right. So, in general, how do employers and learners react to your innovative solution globally?
First, there's usually a bit of skepticism. I understand that hospitality is a rather traditional industry.
Yep.
There's ways of doing it, there's routines, and these are typically driven to perfection, so it's harder to change it. But now, we're working with several hundred hotels that are already using it.
Okay.
We're established in Asia to quite some extent, so that gives us credibility. There's word of mouth going around. People talk about us in the industry, and we can deliver results. I think once you move away from promise to data, that changes a lot, and we can show data.
Yep.
So we do pre-test, a few weeks later we do post-test, and you see how the level has increased with everybody. And that, I think, is a very convincing argument. Nevertheless, we see some resistances because there's people that have been doing the training so far, and they may lose their job.
Yeah.
Or they may become more of coaches as opposed to teachers, and that naturally creates a bit of a resistance. But we try to tell them and educate them that they will be our assistants in doing that. We're not, primarily trying to replace them, but we want to work together with them to bring better solutions, make their job easier.
Great. And what are you planning to develop beyond your training platform?
Well, our strategy is very much that coming from the language side of things, where we have the largest foothold, I would say about 75% of our activities is language driven. So hotel staff learning function-specific Mandarin or function-specific English with more than a dozen supporting languages to learn that target language. We have developed up further into the upselling and vocational training, and we gather a lot of information, and a lot of people that come to us, they basically create sort of profiles. And I think once we get to a broad enough sort of application of our solution, people will understand the credibility almost as a certification. You have boost level 1, 2, 3, so we would like to recruit people that are on that level. So when we get to that stage, then we can also be helpful in recruiting more effectively as opposed to only training. Right. And geographically, obviously, we're very present in Asia, mainly Southeast Asia. We now have a good business going in China. We're very strong in Japan. Ultimately, we want to also go to Europe, Middle East, and the Americas. Okay. And from the segment, typically it's high-end five-star hotels that are using our service that care very much about the service quality. Over time, we want this to be available to everybody and become more of a self-service model, where also smaller boutique hotels in remote places that we cannot reach with direct sales teams can find us and use our solution.
Great. What would you recommend to our young graduates and students what are the things they have to develop before becoming successful managers? What are the values they should have? What is the mindset they should have in your eyes?
Over the last 10 years, I've been involved in many companies. I'm sitting on 10 boards, and for me, values are extremely important. And what I try to instill on the companies, or at least communicate to the companies I work with, are three basic values that are very important for me. One is integrity, the second one is respect, and the third one is ambition. And we live all of that at Boost. And with integrity, I mean deliver what you promise to deliver.
Yep.
Say what you intend to do. No. Don't lie, basically. Be yourself. Be authentic. Yeah. Respect. Deal with people in the best way you can, because it will come back. They will treat you like that as well. And ambition, we're a growth company. We're a tech company. We want to conquer the world.
So it's fine. I'm happy to hear that because you, in the coming years, you will be able to hire our students and our graduates too, because it's part of our values. So it's really important for us to have this kind of.
There's a fit. I see that already now at this wonderful fair. We've had a lot of conversations with people here from graduates and interns from your school, and we'd be very delighted to onboard as many as possible with our teams.
If you had a very last, because we run out of time, if you had a last thing to share with our community, what would it be?
I think values are extremely important, as we just said.
Yep.
And number two is technology is just going to take over massively. And be part of it rather than be overrun by it.
Mr. Salvisberg, thank you very much for coming here for the interview. We hope you will enjoy the rest of the day here amongst us. And now stay tuned again, because now we will welcome in a couple of minutes our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Barry O'Mahony, and a very special guest from Disneyland Paris Hotel, Mr. Thomas Faya. See you in a couple of seconds.
Thank you very much, Thomas.